embattled former finance minister Ken Ofori Atta is accusing the Office of the Special Prosecutor of what they term as abuse of administrative power and manipulating evidence. They're demanding that the withdrawal of the Interpol red notice. Now, full details coming up shortly here on Ghana Tonight, and this is one that we're going to be looking into quite closely here on Ghana Tonight. And remember, we're very interactive. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. The family of the former finance minister, that's Ken Ofori Atta, has taken on the Office of the Special Prosecutor for what the family says is an abuse of power by the Special Prosecutor. Now, key amongst their demands is a call on Interpol to withdraw the red notice, which has listed the former finance minister as a wanted man. Now, my colleague Dennis Paberi-Wadam has a copy of this letter purported to be from the family of Kenneth Ofori Atta, the former finance minister. We say purported for a reason. And Dennis, why is that?
Well, we say so because this letter has been signed by an entity described as the family of Ken Ofori Atta. It has not been signed by any identified person as a name who perhaps is signing for and on behalf of the family. It is signed off as family of Ken Ofori Atta, and even the heading also bears the same description. But our sources did indicate to us that this indeed is from the family of Ken Ofori Atta, except it doesn't have a name to it. We don't know why. Perhaps they know why they did so. But one of the key issues they are contending with, which they are particularly not happy about, is the listing of the former finance minister on the Interpol red notice. And we just did a quick check just to be sure that that notice is still on the website. And this is a live page from the Interpol website. It still indicates that the former finance minister is still being listed as a wanted person.
He's still there?
Yes, so he's still in there. When you click on it, then you see the details as they have been there. So nothing really has changed about it.
Right.
And this is one of the key things that the family is contending with. They are not happy. They are accusing the Office of the Special Prosecutor of very serious matters, including a possibility of having manipulated evidence to procure a warrant, which they said is dated on the 11th of February for the arrest of the former finance minister. They also accuse the office of the abuse of administrative powers, and they go on to recount what all that has happened between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and then Ken Ofori Atta in relation to their correspondence as to how to fix a meeting date and the insistence of the Office of the Special Prosecutor on an in-person appearance for interrogation in respect of some matters that the OSP has listed. They also go ahead to recount what they say has been an act of good faith in respect of Ken's conduct in relation to investigations. They make reference to a extradition investigation. They make reference to the parliamentary censure and the like.
Let's see.
So let's get into the specific details. And yes, so this is in respect of the Interpol red notice, which they want a withdrawal of same. And their reasons for saying so or wanting that to be granted is to the effect that they are of the view that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has engaged in what they describe as a deliberate suppression and manipulation of evidence. And this they will explain as relates to the warrant of arrest, which they say the OSP has procured. They say the court record does not show that it was procured regularly, for which reason they suspect a suppression and manipulation of evidence in that regard. They also deem all that has happened so far a violation of the human rights of Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, and this is a matter that they've indicated is before the Human Rights Court in Accra here. Judgments in relation to this will be given on June 18, and they are expected that to the effect that the matters that are going to be determined in this case has to do with the first time that the Office of the Special Prosecutor had described or declared Ken Ofori Atta as a wanted person, and hoping that a judgment will be given. They had hoped that, the Office of the Special Prosecutor will hasten slowly for that judgment to be given.
Until the determination of that case.
Yes, but they say that he has again been redeclared as a wanted person. They think that is a violation of his rights. They also talk about disregard of judicial processes and denial of due process. And this, they explain, has to do with the fact that they've served the courts some of the medical reports and the letter from the Mayo Clinic where the former finance minister is said to be receiving medical treatment on the court and that of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and that was not taken into consideration in the disregard by the OSP to consider whether or not to grant him a request of a video interview instead of an in-person, as has been insisted on by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. In that regard, they think it's a disregard of the judicial proceedings and denial of due process. They also talk about a breach of administrative injustice that has been meted out to the former finance minister. After they don't end there, now they've listed some things that they say are missteps of the OSP. And these are matters that they've complained of. I mean, and there are things that they want to bring to the attention of the public, that what the OSP is doing is not right in their view. Now they are saying that they are of the view that the OSP is using the office for vendetta and political persecution. Again, they say that there's a deliberate suppression of evidence that I've explained in what context they use that. The third also, that there's a denial of institutional flexibility to permit compliance with orders. This is in relation to Ken Ofori Atta's request for a video interview rather than the in-person.
Right.
They thought that under the circumstances and also regarding the fact that they had said that he was, it was on grounds of ill health, he should have been given that opportunity so that when he recovers fully, he returns to the jurisdiction. That's why they made the point that at all material moments where he was needed before any forum for interrogation, he appeared. And that they should understand that in this particular context, it's because of ill health that he's unavailable.
So that's what they talk about, institutional flexibility.
Flexibility to permit compliance with orders. And also, they also complain about disregard of adherence to due process of law and to Ghana's constitution. This, again, in part has to do with the pending proceedings in courts, that a determination has to be made in a certain matter. They say the OSP has gone ahead to do exactly what they are complaining about. So in their view, that is not... Also, the matter of breach of professional ethics. You recall that as part of the human rights action before the human rights courts, part of the issues that were complained of had to do with professional ethics. That is to say that they are of the view that as a lawyer, when you choose a forum to engage with another lawyer, that lawyer cannot, on his own, decide to change that mode of communication. That is to say, the correspondence between the lawyers of Ken Ofori Atta and the OSP were written letters. That they could not understand why all of a sudden the OSP had to go public using the media to make some pronouncements and to communicate some information to him. They deemed that as a breach of professional ethics. They also talk about unlawful declaration of Mr. Ofori Atta as a fugitive from justice by a media briefing. Yes, that largely forms part of that human rights action. They think that declaration was unlawful. Now they say with this one, he has even done it more than once.
I see.
There's a seventh one, that's a refusal to be bound by a regulatory framework in exercising its investigative powers in the performance of its investigative functions. They contend strongly that as we speak, Ken Ofori Atta has not been specifically charged, except an indication on the arrest warrant that says that he uses public office for profits. That, in their view, is not right, and it's outside. The OSP shouldn't have done same. And now finally, they complain of the violation of applicants' human rights as a consequence of the OSP disregard of its limits of power. In essence, they are saying that what the OSP is doing is in excess of its powers, and that's a violation of the human rights of Ken Ofori Atta, for which reason they are unhappy about it. So, Alfred, the generality of it is that the family is not happy. And like we said, this is a letter that has been signed by the family. No individual has been indicated on a letter to have been signing it for and on behalf of the family. That's what we have before us, Alfred.
And it's a very important denominator to all of this, so we understand how the issues are playing out. But as we checked, the Interpol red notice that publication is still on the Interpol website.
Precisely so.
Yes, and we're going to put it on the screen right now. Despite the concerns of the family about this publication on the Interpol the website, they're putting Ken Ofori Atta on that red notice.
But Alfred, it's instructive to note that this is not a letter to anybody per se.
Yeah.
This, as we have it, is a press statement.
From
yes, for the general
family.
public. So it's not addressed to maybe say the OSP or to say the Interpol, except to make that call on Interpol that they want this to be taken down because of the things that they listed. They think that
but
it was
what's
not
the charge? What's the charge on the Interpol publication?
The charge on the Interpol publication simply says using public office for profit, and that's what they've maintained. That even though Ken Ofori Atta has not been officially charged, this, they say, is on the warrant, which they say was procured through the manipulation of evidence.
I see. Well, Samir Akon is a private legal practitioner. He heads the communications research and operations of the Special Prosecutor's Office. He's been responding to some of the things that you spoke about, or this notice purportedly to be from the family of Ken Ofori Atta touched on. And I spoke to him on key point, and he indicated why they needed him in person and then what's going to happen after this Interpol red notice that has been published on Interpol's website. Take a look. What happens after this red notice that has been published now?
What happens is that Interpol would have to place him under arrest, and then Attorney General would work on the extradition processes, and whatever it is that the account in the process of the extradition will take place. So that means nobody is interested in keeping anybody for anything. We are saying that allow us to do our investigation. There may be good reason why we want to see Mr. Ofori Atta. You are saying that it may not be necessary for us to just go ahead and say that we are the ones doing the investigation. And we know why we need Mr. Ofori Atta. And it's not because Mr. Ofori Atta says that I need to take my caution statement, or because somebody said try him, a sensible process in the form of a criminal thing. We're saying that it's not that. Allow us to do the job we are doing. Your suggestions are well taken, but allow us to do our job. And when we are done, we will let you know why we needed Mr. Ofori Atta. You want to know it now. We are saying that you don't know whether giving it out will compromise investigations or not. What we ought to tell Ghanaians, we have come out to safely tell Ghanaians about it.
Well, Christian Malm Hesse is a private legal practitioner, and he's been following this case quite closely, and he's joined us on Zoom. I appreciate your time, Counsel, for connecting with us here on Ghana Tonight. After this publication, the red notice, the family is asking that this purportedly be taken down. But then again, it's not going to be that straightforward, isn't it? I mean, the OSP says they're hoping that after the publication, the processes will kick in to have Ken Ofori Atta either located and then eventually extradited back to Ghana. But is this going to be straightforward from what you do know?
Good evening, sir, and good evening to your viewers alike. I'd maintain from the one that it is never a straightforward matter. When it comes to the law of extradition, there is always a principle statement that says that law of extradition is a simple matter in mention, but it is a complex matter in practice. Yes, the red notice has been issued. It is just one aspect of the leg. It is notice to Interpol countries. And as it had been, the countries have been named underneath the notice, it applies. Now, it has been narrowed more from the many other countries to two countries, that's UK and US. It stands to say that while we now know that Mr. Ofori Atta is in the US at Mayo Clinic for medical treatment, extradition does come with legal battle. And on your platform the last time, I cited cases where even in Ghana, where extradition had happened, it didn't go without a fight. So the OSP or the government of Ghana, as it would be, should expect a fight from Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, because even in the Ghana courts, at the Human Rights Court, Mr. Ken Ofori Atta is fighting for his rights. And just I'd also maintain in explaining little of jurisprudence to the public, it is always maintained that with a duty comes a right. So that where an institution is conferred, what we see in positivism, we say it's a power conferred on an institution. Whatever duty it seeks to impose, the effect of it on the other side is that it would cause the incidence of right, and that incidence of right would have a legal record. So Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, believing that his rights will be trampled upon, or there will be a fraction with the law, would want to fight back. And so that is going to make the extradition process not a simple one, but a complex one. And it goes to the principle that I mentioned. Also, Ghana, we had the case of Republic versus Director of Prisons, Espati Alute, where I indicated the last time that, couples who had engaged in cocoa transaction, albeit fraudulent, the U.S. government sought their extradition after the notice was put out there. Yes, after they were detained. So that's the extent that the security service would do. They will procure the person and detain the person, but it requires the legal process to also follow, and they sought to challenge the whole process. However, they challenged it. The court came to a decision that indeed the offense charged them is extraditable. Is an extraditable offense under the law, and such laws exist both in the US and in Ghana. And by diplomatic means, the laws of treaty and also the state laws, such persons ought to be extradited. And I also mentioned the case of the same Republic versus Director of Prisons, Espati Schumann, which flowed from a Nazi fugitive who had hid himself in Ghana, and upon discovery, such person was also extradited.
Right.
But he also put in a fight for his right. But at the end of the day, the law concluded on him that he ought to go. So it's never going to be a simple process for the OSP. It's one thing putting the person on red notice, and it's another thing extraditing the person to Ghana.
We'll see how the coming days will look like on this. Christian Malm Hesse, appreciate you for this as well, and adding your legal understanding to how.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you.